Brian Wilson, Mary Catherine Ham, Brian Neiman, today's newsmakers, and you, the Morning Majority. 105.9 FM and AM 630.
Happy Monday, 7:07 with the Morning Majority. Brian Neiman, Brian Wilson. Mary Catherine has the day off. We've got Lieutenant General Tom McInerney coming up a half hour from now. We'll get into what's going on in the Middle East, especially what's going on in Iran and the oil problem that could be in our future if it's already not here.
That's right.
That's a half hour from now. Tucker Carlson comes up 1 hour from now. We'll talk to Tucker more about his expose into media matters. Right now, Joe DiGenova, our legal expert, joins us. Actually, Joe, I'd like to start there with you with media matters because they're putting out a new book today about Fox News, and Tucker's Daily Caller has done an interesting story about media matters and their connection, especially with the White House. Apparently, they have an open line there. And they're a non-for-profit organization. I'm just wondering the legality of that. Is there anything wrong with a not-for-profit organization having such close ties to the White House?
It depends upon what they're doing with the White House. They're a 501c3 corporation, which is they're a charitable organization, so they cannot become involved in active partisan political affairs. And if they do, they run the risk of having their tax-exempt status revoked. Now, the truth is the IRS has gotten increasingly reluctant to get involved in investigating charitable status because they've had some run-ins with various churches over their ability to preach from the pulpit, and this has spilled over into non-religious charitable organizations. So I don't hold out any hope that the IRS is going to do anything about media matters, although what they have done from what's been revealed in the emails that Tucker Carlson published is clearly illegal in the sense that they have violated their charter with the federal government for charitable giving. In addition, the suggestion that they were going to hire private investigators, if they did that and they crossed certain lines with private investigators, there could be mucho lawsuits out there for invasion of privacy. For example, it's very difficult to control private investigators, especially those who work for media organizations. Just look at News Corp in London. I wouldn't be a bit surprised if they were to dig into this with subpoenas, as they would find out there was some activity that crossed the line. You know, there could be wiretapping, there could be email interceptions, breaking into accounts, doing background checks, a fake request for credit scores. That's a felony under federal law to go get credit information about somebody under a ruse. Say you call claiming you're a loan officer and get background information from a credit bureau. Those are crimes. So I think probably it's going to have to be the House of Representatives that looks at this because they're the only ones with subpoena power that are not going to be conflicted.
Well, I'd imagine there could be civil suits as well. I mean,
yes. Anybody whose privacy was invented has the right to sue, although the people at Fox probably would not want to sue. They're the ultimate victims here. They would just want to continue to expose. But, Media Matters has a tranche of money from George Soros, and they're not going anywhere soon.
On the private investigator matter, we were talking last week about a lot of law enforcement have the ability to have these license plate readers, these scanners, where they can just set up a camera on a squad car and check like 1,000 license plates in an hour's time, and they keep it for maybe up to a year. What I didn't realize from listening from our callers, what they said, a lot of them have worked for private companies that do the exact same thing.
That is correct. There are no laws now. You have to have specific statutory prohibitions for each type of surveillance-type activity. The GPS, for example, can be used by private investigators illegally as long as it's on a car that's owned by the person that they are putting the GPS on. For example, a husband wants to spy on his wife or vice versa. As long as the GPS that the private investigator attaches to the car is owned by the client, it's legal. If it isn't, it could be illegal. So they have the right to do a lot of things.
Yeah, I was just curious on the license plate reader. They said they do it because they're looking for some of them maybe even work for insurance companies, or they're looking for stolen cars or things like that, all with good motives. Yep. But they said that they have the ability in some places keep that data forever. I'm just wondering, is that then their data and that it's their property and they can keep it?
It is their data, it's their property, and the only way states can restrict this is by passing statutes. There are no common law restrictions on this because this activity did not exist at common law, and so therefore the only controls over it come from new legislation by states or counties. And so in the absence of legislation, anything goes.
Okay, there was a story that broke after our show on Friday involving a guy named Amin El Khalifi, who apparently was the subject of a year-long sting operation. Well, what he wanted to do was, and he thought he was going to, put on a suicide vest to go in and blow up a portion of the U.S. Capitol. Tell me a little bit about this particular case and what happens next.
Well, what happened was he came to the attention of federal authorities, obviously through a connection with local police, after the landlord filed a complaint about him because he said he was getting suspicious packages. Now, the Arlington police apparently told the landlord not to worry about it, but it's pretty obvious what the Arlington police did. They passed it along to the feds, and the feds set up a sting operation over a year ago. This guy was an infrequent attendee of a local mosque, and over in Virginia. And eventually, they, as he requested various items like bombs, and he ended up with an automatic weapon which was disabled, and a jacket, a bomb jacket, which has been the weapon of choice in Israel and elsewhere in the Middle East by suicide bombers. And he went to the Capitol, being driven by two FBI informants, thinking he was going to cause multiple deaths at the Capitol, but instead he was arrested about 2 blocks away from the Capitol by the Bureau.
Sounds like they've got a pretty strong case and that this is Loctite.
It's a pretty good case from all we've been able to read in the press. I mean, you never know until you hear all the tapes that were done during the building of the relationship, because he's going to claim entrapment. Already lawyers are discussing entrapment. But in terrorism cases, the entrapment thing doesn't work very well. It has worked very well in other cases where the public doesn't see the need, but in terrorism cases, the public actually agrees with undercover operations, so the law enforcement has a better chance.
All right, Andrea McCarran, the investigative reporter at Channel 9, did a piece about how and where kids are buying booze and liquor and what stores they're getting it from. And some kids were upset about it because, well, that's the place where they got their booze from, and they wanted to continue to get that alcohol. And they bullied her kids to the point where she felt it was necessary for them to actually take them out of school, I think, at a time.
Yes.
I'm just curious as to, is there something that could happen to those kids in a bullying prospect, or is that something that's done solely from the school board?
Well, there's a bunch of things that can happen. First of all, it's very important that the public know what the school board and the principals are going to do about this. There has to be some public acknowledgement of wrongdoing, the harassment of her children at the school, the harassment of her as a reporter, and there needs to be some public accounting from the school board, from the Montgomery County Police. There's been deathly silence since this. I mean, Andrea McCarran was on the CNN over the weekend explaining what she did and how she did it and how she actually went off the air as a result of advice from the station manager and news director. I think that's a terrible loss for journalism when somebody goes off the air. I mean, I can understand the reason for it, but there should be consequences for this. And there has been a deathly silence from Montgomery County. And we need to find out. I mean, this is what other journalists should be doing, is finding out what is the school board going to do. There's a potential here for civil liability. There's criminal liability for the texting and the emails that were sent that were threats to the kids and even to McCarran. I mean, when you modify somebody's job behavior, whether they're a reporter or not, as a result of threats, there have to be legal consequences from that. And we have heard absolutely nothing from the Montgomery County School Board or from the Montgomery County Police Department, or for that matter, the state's attorney.
Interesting.
Where are they? I mean, what's going on? Is this just going to blow over? Again, it's Montgomery County. You never know.
All right, Joe. Great to have you on as always. We appreciate it.